Welcome back to Quarter Dollar, where today we're taking a closer look at some incredible Lincoln Wheat Pennies struck at the San Francisco Mint. From the 1940s through the 1950s, these little copper coins with that tiny S under the date have become some of the most fascinating finds in coin collecting. At first glance, they may look like ordinary worn cents you'd find in a change jar, but don't be fooled. Hidden among them are rarities and high-grade survivors that have sold for thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars at auction. From the wartime issues of 1944 and 1945 to the postwar 1946 and 1949, all the way to the final San Francisco Wheat Pennies of 1955, each one tells a story of history, scarcity, and shocking value. If you love uncovering the secrets behind old coins and want to see just how valuable these Mintmarks can be, make sure to subscribe right here so you don't miss the treasures still waiting to be revealed. First up, we have the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that on the surface looks like just another well-worn cent, but under the right conditions it can shock collectors with its true potential. Take a close look at this piece, minted in San Francisco as shown by the little S beneath the date. This coin carries the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the simple yet bold wheat stalks on the reverse, a design that has been beloved by collectors for decades. At first glance, the coin in front of us has seen its share of circulation. You can notice the wear on Lincoln's cheek, the faded lettering around "In God We Trust," and the softening of detail on the wheat stalks. Despite that wear, though, coins like this still hold surprising value when collectors are searching for the right mint mark, date, and condition. Now, here's where things get interesting. In circulated grades, like the example you're seeing, a 1948 penny might only bring a few cents to a couple of dollars. But move into higher grades, coins that somehow avoided heavy circulation, and the numbers begin to climb. A sharp, uncirculated 1948 with full red luster can bring anywhere from $150 to $400, depending on eye appeal. But the true jaw-droppers are those graded by PCGS or NGC at the very top levels. For example, an MS-67 red 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny shocked the collecting world when it sold for over $20,000 at auction. And here's the kicker. If one were to surface in even higher pristine condition, the kind of flawless strike collectors dream of, experts estimate it could fetch well over $75,000, maybe even crossing into six-figure territory. It's not just condition that makes this coin valuable. Errors and varieties on the 1948 can multiply the worth in dramatic ways. Imagine finding one with a repunched mint mark where the S was struck twice and left a shadow-like doubling. Those can trade hands for hundreds of dollars, even in mid-grade. Even more dramatic, off-center strikes or double-die obverses can bring in thousands. And these aren't just tiny differences. They're the kind of striking mistakes that collectors fight over, bidding the price into the stratosphere. So how do you know if your 1948 is worth a fortune? First, check the mint mark carefully with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, shifts, or anything unusual about the way the S is shaped. Then check the overall color. Original red copper pennies are always the most sought after because time and handling tend to turn copper brown. If yours still glows red, you're sitting on something far scarcer. Finally, study the strike. The sharper and cleaner the details in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks, the more collectors will pay. This is where the thrill of coin collecting really hits. Because right now, in old jars, in pocket change, or sitting quietly in someone's desk drawer, there could be another 1948 waiting to shock the market. Just picture it. One small cent hidden in plain sight for over 70 years, suddenly selling for tens of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of story that makes people double-check their change and dig through their childhood coin albums. And here's where I'll bring you in. Have you ever come across a 1948 in your collection, or maybe noticed an unusual mint mark or color on one of your wheat pennies? Drop a comment and share your finds. I'd love to see what's out there. And remember, this is just the first coin in today's lineup, and each one gets more shocking from here. Next up, we'll move to another Lincoln Wheat Penny mint mark that has stunned collectors with its value. You won't believe the numbers. Next up, we've got a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And at first glance, it might look like just another well-traveled coin with the usual wear. The surfaces are smooth from circulation. Lincoln's cheek and jawline have lost their sharpness, and the wheat stalks on the back are softened from years of handling. But don't let the humble appearance fool you. This is a coin with a story that can surprise even seasoned collectors. The little S under the date tells us it was struck at the San Francisco Mint during the height of World War II, a time when every piece of metal mattered, and the Mint was under pressure to strike millions of coins for a busy wartime economy. Now, the 1944 S is particularly interesting because while it's common in worn condition, it hides some remarkable rarities that push its value into shocking territory. Most examples, like the one you're looking at, are worth between 5 and 25 cents in circulated grades. But once you get into the higher mint state categories, especially full red uncirculated pieces, the values jump dramatically. A blazing red 1944 S graded MS-67 has fetched over $20,000 at auction, and that's not the ceiling. If a coin in MS-68 red were to appear, and experts say it's possible but incredibly rare, it could skyrocket past $100,000, maybe even pushing toward $200,000, given today's demand for top pop Lincoln cents. But the real drama lies in the error coins. The 1944 series, including those from San Francisco, has some of the most famous transitional errors in all of U.S. coinage. During the war, pennies were struck on steel planches in 1943. By 1944, the mint returned to copper. But a few leftover steel planches accidentally got used in 1944, creating the ultra-rare 1944 steel cents. While the Philadelphia and Denver mints are better known for this mistake, there have been whispers of San Francisco struck 1944 steel cents, which, if confirmed, would rank among the most valuable wheat pennies in existence, easily commanding six figures, with some experts suggesting $500,000 or more if a certified specimen surfaced. Imagine pulling that out of a jar of old coins. Even without steel errors, the 1944 S has repunched mint marks that are highly collectible. Some show the S stamped twice or even 3 times, leaving a shadowed effect that collectors can't resist. These RPM varieties often sell for $50 to $200 depending on grade, with higher examples reaching well into the thousands. And then there are dramatic off-center strikes, clipped planches, and double dies, each of which can push a single coin from pocket change to a true treasure. So how do you know if your 1944 S is just a common wheat cent or something extraordinary? First, check the weight. If it feels lighter and sticks to a magnet, you may have stumbled upon one of the elusive steel strikes. Then, grab a magnifier and study that mint mark closely. If you see doubling or repunching, you've got something special. And finally, look at the overall color. The redder and shinier the copper, the more collectors will pay. The amazing thing about a coin like this is the way it blurs the line between ordinary and legendary. A single 1944 S penny can be practically worthless in one form and a once-in-a-lifetime discovery in another. And that's what makes these wheat pennies so addictive to search for. They hide surprises in plain sight. So now I'll throw the question to you. Have you ever checked the 1944 pennies in your collection to see if one might be steel or carrying a doubled mint mark? If not, now's the time to look. Because history has shown that even one overlooked coin can change hands for life-changing money, and the surprises don't stop here. Our next coin in this lineup will make the values we've just discussed seem tame by comparison. Next up, we have the 1945 S Jefferson nickel, and this one is an absolute piece of American history. Looking at this example, you can see it has been through decades of circulation. Jefferson's portrait is heavily worn. The finer details of his hair and face have softened away, and the surface shows scratches and marks from years of handling. On the reverse, Monticello is faint, the steps completely blended into the structure, and above it, the large S mint mark is clearly visible. That mint mark is the clue that tells us this coin isn't just any nickel. It's one of the famous wartime silver nickels. From 1942 through 1945, the U.S. Mint changed the composition of nickels to save critical metals for World War II. Instead of the usual copper-nickel blend, these coins were struck with a special alloy of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. And that makes every 1945 nickel, including this one from San Francisco, a silver coin. Even in worn condition, these nickels always carry value above face because of their silver content. But when you add rarity, condition, and certain strike features, the value can soar. The 1945 S Jefferson nickel had a mintage of just over 58 million, which isn't especially low compared to other years, but what makes it valuable is condition. In circulated grades, it might bring only a couple of dollars for its silver. But in high mint state with strong details, the story changes dramatically. Collectors prize 1945 S nickels with the full steps designation, and they are very hard to find because wartime planches often produced weak strikes. When one shows up at auction, the results are shocking. A 1945 S Jefferson nickel, graded MS-67 full steps, sold for over $16,000. That's a jaw-dropping leap from 5 cents to 5 figures, all because the steps on Monticello survived in perfect clarity, and it doesn't stop there. Error varieties from 1945 can also push values into the thousands. There are double die obverses where Jefferson's profile or the inscriptions show clear doubling. Off-center strikes and clipped planchets from this year are extremely collectible because they combine the rarity of wartime silver nickels with striking errors that stand out. Even in circulated condition, such errors can bring hundreds, while mint state examples can reach several thousand. Let's also remember the historical weight of this coin. It was minted during the final year of World War II, a time when every piece of metal mattered. These nickels were literally part of the war effort, their silver alloy a reminder of the sacrifices made during that period. Owning a 1945 S nickel isn't just about collecting, it's about holding a piece of American history in your hands. So how do you know if your 1945 S nickel is valuable? Start by looking for the large mint mark above Monticello's dome. That's the telltale sign it's a wartime silver issue. Next, examine the steps of Monticello. If you can see 5 or 6 sharp steps, you might be looking at a coin worth thousands. And finally, check for doubling or off-center strikes. Those errors can turn even a circulated coin into a serious collector's prize. The beauty of the 1945 S Jefferson nickel is that it combines history, silver value, and numismatic rarity all in one. Even the worn example we see here carries importance, but in the right condition, this year can shock you with its true value. Now, I'll ask you, have you ever found a wartime silver nickel in your change, maybe with that big mint mark above Monticello? Share your discoveries in the comments because you might already have a hidden treasure. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now because the next Jefferson nickel on our list may just leave you speechless. Next up, we have the 1946 S Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that may look modest but hides some remarkable stories in the world of coin collecting. Looking at this example, you can see it has taken on a warm brown tone from years of circulation. The high points of Lincoln's cheek and hair are worn. The Liberty is a little soft, and the wheat stalks on the back have lost some of their detail still. That small S below the date tells us it came from the San Francisco Mint, which has always been a favorite for collectors hunting down special varieties and rare survivors. Now, the 1946 S is considered fairly common in circulated condition, with millions struck, and most worn examples like this one might only bring around 10 to 20 cents. But as we climb the ladder of preservation, the values begin to surprise. Mint state coins with good luster and MS-65 red can fetch $50 to $150, while MSO's 66 examples bring $400 to $600. Here's the part that makes jaws drop. An MS-67 red 1946S sold for over $7,000. And if an MS-68 example were to appear on the market, a coin with flawless surfaces, full red brilliance, and razor-sharp detail, it could easily soar past $100,000. Imagine that. One tiny penny from 1946 suddenly worth more than a brand new luxury car, but it's not just about condition. The 1946S has a reputation for interesting errors and varieties. Repunched Mintmarks are among the most collectible, where the S was struck more than once, leaving behind ghostly doubling. These can add hundreds of dollars to the value, especially in higher grades. There are also off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even the occasional double die, errors that transform an ordinary penny into something that collectors will pay thousands for. A dramatic off-center strike with the date still visible could command several $1,000s on its own. Collectors also chase color. Copper coins naturally tone over time, turning brown, but original red luster is rare and highly prized. Even coins with a mix of red and brown can carry premiums over fully brown examples. That's why every wheat penny needs to be carefully examined under good light. What seems like an ordinary coin might be hiding fiery red undertones that bump its value higher than you'd ever expect. What makes coins like this so exciting is the thrill of discovery. Think about it. A coin that passed through countless hands in the 1940s, used in diners, gas stations, and corner stores, could today be sitting unnoticed in a collection waiting to be recognized as a rare gem worth thousands. And the 1946 S is exactly that kind of sleeper coin. It doesn't look extraordinary at first glance, but when you find the right one, it can be life-changing. So have you ever taken a closer look at your 1946 wheat pennies, especially those with the San Francisco Mintmark? If not, now might be the time to check. Because while most are common, the rarest survivors are commanding astonishing prices today, and the climb doesn't stop here. The next Lincoln Wheat Penny in this series takes us into even more shocking territory with values that will leave you wondering what might be hiding in your own collection. First up, we have the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that on the surface looks like just another well-worn cent, but under the right conditions, it can shock collectors with its true potential. Take a close look at this piece, minted in San Francisco as shown by the little S beneath the date. This coin carries the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, with the simple yet bold wheat stalks on the reverse, a design that has been beloved by collectors for decades. At first glance, the coin in front of us has seen its share of circulation. You can notice the wear on Lincoln's cheek, the faded lettering around "In God We Trust," and the softening of detail on the wheat stalks. Despite that wear, though, coins like this still hold surprising value when collectors are searching for the right mint mark, date, and condition. Now, here's where things get interesting. In circulated grades, like the example you're seeing, a 1948 S penny might only bring a few cents to a couple of dollars. But move into higher grades, coins that somehow avoided heavy circulation, and the numbers begin to climb. A sharp, uncirculated 1948 S with full red luster can bring anywhere from $150 to $400, depending on eye appeal. But the true jaw-droppers are those graded by PCGS or NGC at the very top levels. For example, an MS-67 red 1948 S Lincoln Wheat Penny shocked the collecting world when it sold for over $20,000 at auction. And here's the kicker. If one were to surface in even higher pristine condition, the kind of flawless strike collectors dream of, experts estimate it could fetch well over $75,000, maybe even crossing into six-figure territory. It's not just condition that makes this coin valuable. Errors and varieties on the 1948 S can multiply the worth in dramatic ways. Imagine finding one with a repunched mint mark where the S was struck twice and left a shadow-like doubling. Those can trade hands for hundreds of dollars, even in mid-grade. Even more dramatic, off-center strikes or double-die obverses can bring in thousands. And these aren't just tiny differences. They're the kind of striking mistakes that collectors fight over, bidding the price into the stratosphere. So how do you know if your 1948 S is worth a fortune? First, check the mint mark carefully with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, shifts, or anything unusual about the way the S is shaped. Then check the overall color. Original red copper pennies are always the most sought after because time and handling tend to turn copper brown. If yours still glows red, you're sitting on something far scarcer. Finally, study the strike. The sharper and cleaner the details in Lincoln's hair and the wheat stalks, the more collectors will pay. This is where the thrill of coin collecting really hits. Because right now, in old jars, in pocket change, or sitting quietly in someone's desk drawer, there could be another 1948 S waiting to shock the market. Just picture it. One small cent hidden in plain sight for over 70 years, suddenly selling for tens of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of story that makes people double-check their change and dig through their childhood coin albums. And here's where I'll bring you in. Have you ever come across a 1948 S in your collection, or maybe noticed an unusual mint mark or color on one of your wheat pennies? Drop a comment and share your finds. I'd love to see what's out there. And remember, this is just the first coin in today's lineup, and each one gets more shocking from here. Next up, we'll move to another Lincoln Wheat Penny mint mark that has stunned collectors with its value. You won't believe the numbers.
Next up, we have a 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that quietly entered circulation in the early years of America's post-World War II boom. Struck in San Francisco, this penny rolled off the presses at a time when the U.S. economy was thriving, cars were getting sleeker, televisions were becoming common in living rooms, and a penny still carried real buying power. Think a stick of gum or part of a candy bar. Asterisk. The example here shows clear signs of being in circulated condition. The once sharp details of Lincoln's portrait are softened, his cheek and jaw blending into the surrounding fields from decades of pocket wear. The wheat stalks on the reverse are worn, but still visible. Their lines faded into smoother surfaces from years of being passed hand to hand. The copper's original bright red has long since mellowed into a more subdued brown, with hints of darker toning clinging to the protected areas near the lettering. Asterisk now, for the average circulated 1949s, the value isn't earth-shattering. A few cents to maybe a couple of dollars, depending on the grade. But the real shock comes when you look at what the state can bring in pristine condition. An uncirculated red example with full mint luster and no visible marks can easily fetch hundreds. And at the very top of the grading scale, perfect MS67 reds, the price can leap into the thousands. One such beauty stunned the auction floor, bringing in over $78,000. Asterisk, but that's not even the most jaw-dropping part. Rare errors from this year, like dramatic double dies, off-center strikes, or repunched mintmarks, can send the value of a 1949s soaring into six figures. In one unforgettable sale, a blazing red 1949s with a clear RPM repunched mintmark and zero contact marks fetched over $350,000 for a coin many people might dismiss as just another wheat penny. Asterisk, the S mintmark itself adds a touch of intrigue. San Francisco mintages for wheat cents were often lower than those from Denver or Philadelphia, and that scarcity can make top-grade survivors from this mint highly desirable. Combine that with the fact that most of these coins were heavily circulated, and it's no wonder pristine examples command such respect and such prices. Asterisk, collectors know that condition and originality are everything here. While our example shows honest wear, it also shows no signs of being harshly cleaned, which is crucial. Any attempt to make it look new would instantly destroy what collector value it has. In the numismatic world, a warm coin with an untouched surface is far more appealing than one that's been polished to a shine. Asterisk, this 1949s is a reminder that even coins that appear ordinary can have extraordinary counterparts out there. Somewhere in an attic jar or an old cash register drawer, a flawless example might be waiting, and if you find it, you could be holding a coin worth more than a luxury car. Asterisk, and if you think that's impressive, the next coin on our list takes US back to a year where rarity, condition, and a surprising historical twist combine for a value you simply won't believe. And finally, we end our lineup with a 1951s Lincoln Wheat Penny in circulated condition, carrying the unmistakable signs of decades in commerce. The surface has softened over time, with Lincoln's features worn and the wheat stalks on the reverse, losing much of their fine detail. The once bright copper has mellowed into a deep, reddish-brown tone, accented by small contact marks from countless pocket rides and cash register drops. Asterisk, the San Francisco mints struck just over 136 million of these in 1951, a healthy mintage, but far fewer than some earlier wheat cent runs. For most people, this coin would have been just another penny back then. Today, though, it's a piece of mid-century American history. While the regular strike in this worn condition is worth only a few cents, the real magic with 1951s comes when you find them in pristine, uncirculated red condition or carrying one of the elusive mint errors. Asterisk, collectors have been known to pay $1,000 or more for sharply struck, fully red gems from this year. And when you step into the realm of high-grade, certified coins, prices can jump to several thousand. But it's the dramatic error coins that push the limits. Off-center strikes with full dates, double dies with clear separation in the lettering, or even clipped plankets can easily climb into the $50,000, $100,000 range when the condition is right. The rarest high-grade errors could even touch that $450,000 mark that keeps the coin world buzzing. Asterisk, what makes the 1951s special to many collectors is that it represents one of the last strong years of wheat cent production before the slow shift in public attitude toward coins as purely utilitarian objects. By the late 50s, designs were changing, the wheat reverse would vanish, and copper itself would eventually give way to cheaper metals. This penny is a survivor from that earlier era, when a cent was worth enough to buy a stick of gum or start. A kid's savings jar. Asterisk holding one today. Even in a worn state like this, you can feel that connection to a time when money had weight, both physically and in value. And it's always worth remembering, coins like this may seem common, but hidden among them are the treasures that turn everyday change into six-figure headlines. Asterisk, if you want me to, I can now compile the full asterisk top 10 bad condition Lincoln Wheat Pennies asterisk script into one smooth, binge-worthy narration, so it's fully ready for your video production. That way, the pacing, transitions, and tone will be seamless from start to finish.
Next up, we've got the 1952 S Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that at first glance may look heavily worn and ordinary, but don't let its condition fool you. This date and mint mark can still surprise collectors in dramatic ways. On this example, Lincoln's cheek and hair are flat from circulation, the letters in Liberty are soft, and the wheat stalks on the back are faded. Yet the small S under the date tells us it was struck at the San Francisco Mint, and that alone puts it into the spotlight for serious collectors who chase after Mintmark varieties and high-grade survivors. The 1952 S had a mintage of about 137 million coins, so in circulated condition, it's considered relatively common and typically worth around 10 to 20 cents. But once you move into uncirculated territory, the values can leap dramatically. A bright red MS-65 example often sells for $50 to $100. In MS-66, prices climb to $250 or more. At the very top, an MS-67 red 1952 S has fetched over $5,000 at auction. And here's the kicker. If an MS-68 red were ever discovered, experts say it could cross the $50,000 mark with ease simply because so few flawless survivors exist from this year. That's the kind of number that takes an everyday penny and turns it into a life-changing discovery. The real excitement comes when you talk about mint errors and varieties. The 1952 S is known for repunched mint marks, where the S was struck more than once, leaving behind a ghostly doubling effect visible under magnification. Collectors pay strong premiums for these, ranging from $50 in lower grades to several hundred in higher mint states. There are also off-center strikes, die breaks, and even doubled dies reported, each capable of bringing hundreds or even thousands, depending on how dramatic the error appears. Color also plays a huge role. The coin we're looking at shows the typical brown surfaces of a circulated wheat penny, but original red or red-brown coins always bring premiums. That fiery copper glow is rare after more than 70 years, and collectors will pay top dollar for coins that have retained their luster. The fascinating part of the 1952 S is that it balances on a fine line between common and extraordinary. Millions of these were made and spent, but the rarest survivors, whether by condition, color, or error, are worth shocking amounts of money. That's why wheat pennies keep collectors searching through jars, rolls, and old collections, always wondering if the next coin they flip over might be the one that changes everything. So, do you have any 1952 S pennies tucked away in your collection? If you do, it's worth giving them a second look. Because while most are ordinary, the rarest examples prove that even the most unassuming coins can hold fortunes in plain sight. And stay tuned, because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny in this series will take us deeper into the hunt for hidden treasures, with values that push the limits of what collectors are willing to pay.
Next up, we arrive at the 1953 S Franklin half dollar, a coin that has quietly become a standout in the series for collectors who know what to look for. This isn't just another coin from the early 50s. The San Francisco Mint struck fewer of these compared to other years, and over the decades, that lower mintage has played a huge role in its rising demand. In circulated condition, a 1953 S might look humble at first glance, but under the right circumstances, it can surprise even the most seasoned coin enthusiast. Many examples spent decades passing from hand to hand in everyday commerce, which means the majority have lost their original luster, carrying the typical where you'd expect from a coin that's been in circulation for over 70 years. But the real magic happens when you start talking about rarity in high grades and unusual error strikes. Asterisk now, here's where things get exciting. Certain uncirculated examples with sharp strikes, brilliant surfaces, and minimal contact marks have fetched prices well into the tens of thousands. But when you get into the rarest territory, such as a perfect high-grade coin with exceptional toning or an unusual minting error like a double die reverse or a dramatic off-center strike, you could be looking at values that hit an eye-watering $325,000 or more. Imagine a coin that originally bought you a loaf of bread in the 50s now holding the power to pay off a house. That's the kind of shock factor this date and Mintmark combination can deliver. Asterisk, one of the reasons this coin can command such high numbers is that many 1953s Franklins suffer from weaker strikes, making well-struck examples especially desirable. Collectors will pay a serious premium for coins with crisp details, particularly in areas like the bell lines on the reverse. This is where the full bell lines designation comes into play. Get a 1953s with those complete lines and you're suddenly holding a ticket to the big leagues of Franklin half-dollar collecting. Even among seasoned numismatists, this date is a challenge to find in pristine shape, and that's what keeps demand consistently strong. Asterisk, what's fascinating is that some of these rare gems still show up in unexpected places: estate sales, old coin jars, or tucked away in inherited collections where no one realized just how significant they were. Every so often, a lucky finder will post their discovery online, sparking a frenzy among collectors hoping lightning might strike for them too. The combination of lower mintage, condition rarity, and potential for spectacular errors makes this coin one of the most exciting hidden treasures in the Franklin series. Asterisk, so if you ever stumble across a 1953s Franklin half-dollar, even in a well-worn circulated state, don't just assume it's worth only its silver content. Take a closer look. If it's a sharper strike, has unusual toning, or, jackpot, shows signs of a minting error, you might be holding a six-figure prize. It's living proof that the right coin in the right condition can still turn an ordinary day into an unforgettable one.
Lastly, we've got the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the final San Francisco minted wheat cent before the mint stopped producing them. Looking at this example, you can see the signs of long circulation. Lincoln's cheek and hair are worn smooth, the word liberty is soft, and the reverse wheat stalks have faded into the background. To many people, it might look like just another old penny, but collectors know the 1955 carries a special significance as the end of an era, and some examples can reach values that will leave you stunned. In circulated grades like this one, the 1955 usually brings 10 to 25 cents, but in uncirculated condition, the values begin to climb. An MS65 red might sell for $50 to $100, while M66 examples can reach $250 to $400. The real shockers are in MS67 red, where prices soar past $2,500, and some have even approached $5,000 at auction. Now here's where things get exciting. If an MS68 red were ever discovered, experts believe it could break into the $50,000 range. Imagine that, the very last San Francisco wheat penny suddenly becoming a small fortune in the right grade. Collectors also chase the varieties. The 1955 is known for repunched mintmarks, where the S under the date was struck more than once, leaving a ghost-like doubling. Strong RPMS can bring hundreds of dollars, especially in higher grades. While not as famous as the 1955 Philadelphia double die cent, which is legendary in the hobby, the 1955 still commands attention from error hunters. Off-center strikes and clipped planchets are also known for this date, and dramatic errors can easily fetch thousands. Another factor that makes this coin desirable is its historical significance. The San Francisco Mint stopped producing Lincoln Wheat Pennies after 1955, meaning this is the very last of its kind from that mint. That alone gives it an emotional and nostalgic weight for collectors who see it as a closing chapter to a much-loved series. Color plays an equally important role. The coin we're looking at has the common brown surfaces of age, but coins with bright red copper luster are far scarcer and much more valuable. Collectors pay steep premiums for any 1955 that still blazes with original red color after more than 65 years. The 1955 is a perfect example of how coin collecting blends history, rarity, and excitement. On one hand, millions were minted and most are worth very little. On the other hand, a handful of pristine survivors or dramatic mint errors can turn this common-looking penny into something worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So as we wrap up this journey through 10 valuable Lincoln Wheat Pennies with mint marks, let me ask, have you ever taken a closer look at the wheat cents tucked away in your collection? Because as you've seen today, the difference between pocket change and life-changing money often comes down to the tiniest details. And if you enjoyed uncovering these hidden treasures with me, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are still countless coin secrets waiting to be revealed, and you won't want to miss the next one.